ये ब्रेक आप सुन रहे हैं एवरी मंडे स्टॉक कंप्लायंस होता है पावर्ड बाय टैली सॉल्यूशंस, पावर ऑफ सिंप्लिसिटी। जाइटेक्स में बहुत ही जबरदस्त था। अगर आपने वीडियोस मिस किए तो हमारी टॉक इंस्टाग्राम पेज पे जरूर जाइए और आप देखेंगे कि हमने क्या क्या कवर किया।
Absolutely right. Now this is Stock Compliance in powered by Tally Solutions, and seated in our studios is CA Samir Popat, partner at Nadeem Umendra Chartered Accountants. Today we're talking about a reserve charge mechanism for electronic devices. Now let's give a little bit of a rundown as to who Samir Popat is. Now Samir is a highly successful chartered accountant qualified from Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Now he has more than 10 years of experience working with various MNCs in the region, and he also has an expert knowledge in GCC, where VAT, excise tax and ESR, and presented numerous seminars in last couple of years.
Absolutely, and Samir has been here in our studios a couple of times as well. Now आज का जो टॉपिक है समीर बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है, रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म फॉर इलेक्ट्रॉनिक डिवाइसेस। क्या हमारे iPads पे भी चार्ज लगेगा?
This decision, which is Cabinet Decision number 91 of 2023, it's more related to the traders in electronic devices.
Okay.
So it's kind of a benefit for them. Benefit in the sense not reduction of VAT or anything. It's just the cash flow impact that the FTA is trying to save on it.
Okay.
So let me give you a brief explanation. So normally for VAT, every supplier has to charge VAT to their customers.
Correct.
Right.
So it's the supplier's responsibility to charge VAT to the customers. But in reverse charge mechanism, it is the opposite. That is why the name is called reverse charge mechanism.
Okay.
So in this case, the supplier will not charge VAT to the buyer, but the buyer himself will account for VAT, and then he will declare it in their VAT returns. And if they are eligible to take input for that purchase, then there is no impact of cash flow either, and also the extra VAT is not paid out. So as I said earlier, this is mainly relating to the cash flow impact that these traders were having.
Right. So because it is on credit, इसके वजह से हो रहा है the time gap?
Yes. So whenever a supplier sells the electronic goods, he has to account for VAT, and he has to pay the VAT to the FTA whenever his VAT return is due.
Okay.
But he will get paid by his customer whenever they are as per their credit terms, or
3 months, 2 months, 6 months.
Yes.
Yeah.
That 5% was going extra out of the pockets of the supplier, so
Right.
they wanted to save that.
Oh, fantastic है ये तो यार सप्लायर के लिए। बट एज अ बायर आपने जैसे ही गुड्स खरीदे, the moment you have to account for VAT.
Yes. So again, you have to account. And
you don't have to pay.
Yeah.
वो तो साल में जब आपको पे करना।
No. So what happens is, when you account for it, you account for the liability. In the same return, if you are going to use it for your taxable supplies, you can take input of it. So there is nil effect on your VAT return.
Oh,
so किसी के लिए कोई effect नहीं है.
Nice.
Right. And why was this decision put in place firstly by the FTA?
So that's what I like about the tax authorities here. They see a problem where it
Superb.
can be solved without the revenue of the FTA getting affected. They are
Nice.
ready to go ahead and do it. So as I said, this will help lot of traders in electronic devices to save their working capital by 5%.
I'm not sure, how huge that market is, but there was a time when, everyone would flock to Dubai shopping festival के दौरान specially, और अभी जाइटेक शॉपर भी आएगा, तो वो टाइम पे I think बहुत ये होता है demand.
So I was doing some analysis. I was trying to find some statistics of how much is this trade. Only for smartphones, I found out the trade in UAE in 2023 was around $8 billion.
Billion,
Wow,
huh?
billion.
Wow.
So imagine if all of them is through these registered traders, let's say even 50%. So we are talking about $0.4 billion. So it's almost impact of around $100 million
For VAT.
for this on VAT only. So
$100 million, yeah?
Yeah, it's a huge number.
Yeah, huge number.
But in 2018, I think there was something similar for precious stone dealers, right? I mean, they had incurred something similar on these similar lines.
Yes. So the dealers in precious stone and metal, again, they have huge volumes, but their margins are very low. And back in 2018, when the VAT was introduced, they do transactions daily on huge volumes, as well as the amounts are huge.
Okay.
And at that time also the cash flow impact was quite significant. It's not about for VAT, as I used to say before, VAT was never a cost of doing business for a registered trader. But the only impact VAT brings in is the cash flow impact.
Right.
And at that time in 2018, FT had identified the dealers in precious stone and metals, and at that time they had applied the same mechanism to them as well. And now after few years, they have identified this is another category which it will benefit through this reverse charge mechanism, and they have brought it in.
And how successful is the mechanism?
So it saves the cash flow impact. So you don't have to shell out the 5% extra, the suppliers, and that burden of paying 5% in advance is removed with this.
So every trader who is trading in electronic devices, this will apply to him only.
Every registered trader
Registered, okay.
who is dealing in electronic devices, and the electronic devices are defined separately, and he's selling it to a registered trader.
Okay.
So both have to be registered.
Okay.
Only then the
VAT registered, you mean?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
VAT registered.
Right, we will continue our conversation with CA Samir Popat.
And if you have any questions, you can always send us a WhatsApp. Samir will be more than happy to answer them. 0586861003.
Talk 100.3.
डे ब्रेक आप सुन रहे हैं टॉक कंप्लायंस एवरी मंडे सीए समीर पोपट हमारे साथ. यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चंस यू कैन व्हाट्सएप अस या गिव अस अ कॉल एज वेल 800-81003. और हम बात कर रहे हैं रिवर्स मैकेनिज्म फॉर electronic devices.
Absolutely. Samir, I asked you this question when we were on a break. Now, we are seeing something for the electronic field. In purview of the laws and regulations, do you anticipate that any other industry will be picking up on this trend soon?
So, see, this decision actually it's from the ministry side. So, first of all, ministry is identifying from their side. They have all the statistics with them that which other industry might need this kind of, relief. So, for sure, as I mentioned, that this is what I like about the tax authorities here. They want to make your life easier, but it will not have any impact on their revenue as such, which will increase in turn the compliance from all the companies. So, it's great. And another thing that we are very eagerly anticipating and waiting for is with respect to the corporate tax, wherein the decision on free zones, how they are going to be treated, it was already out. After the decisions were made, there was a public consultation draft issued, wherein they had asked for the comments from the taxpayers that this is how we are going to charge the corporate tax on the free zones.
Okay.
This is what we are planning. What are your comments on it? What is your feedback? So what we are anticipating is once they have taken the feedback, there might be some changes which will, provide additional relief to some of the free zones that they are, waiting for.
Fantastic. The reason is, I think 2 हफ्ते पहले we had raised this question कि free zone companies कुछ है, it's only because the family wants to live in UAE.
Correct.
There is no transaction happening. There is no, because वो business license के वजह से around 4-5 people can be on the visa.
True.
So this was the primary reason. Now उनके लिए क्या होगा? They don't have any transaction or they're making very minimum money out of it. तो उनके लिए भी I think relief होगा in terms of at least having no accounting, in terms of you don't have to probably file any return.
See, that is not going to happen.
समीर ने बोल दिया नहीं होगा.
What is not going to happen? I mean, the
समीर अकाउंट आपको प्रेजेंट करना है.
When you have a business, I believe one of the reasons why UAE corporate tax was introduced, they want the economy to be documented.
Right.
What business is going on. Many of the free zones, they have the requirement of audited financial statements to be submitted every year. But there are still very many free zones who do not have that requirement, and what these companies are doing, no one knows. So it's better to have a filing mechanism wherein everyone submits records their figure with the tax authorities. The whole economy of UAE gets documented and gets real. It's a good step. So I don't see that coming as a relief, but they already have a relief. So if a company
Right.
is not doing any business or have very minimal transactions, they don't pay corporate tax at 9% because they don't have a profit.
Correct.
But wouldn't their businesses then be questioned?
No.
I mean, the whole purpose of having a business is to see an activity happening within its circuit, right?
Yeah,
and if
minimum
nothing's
activity is
happening,
also enough.
See, as of now, also the free zones know that these particular company is only here for certain visas. They don't see any. So I think as of now, if it's okay, going ahead
Correct.
with the tax authorities. See, tax authorities' role is to ensure that the tax is paid, the compliance is done.
Right.
As long as you are doing that, it's fine.
Okay.
great.
Perfect.
And coming back to today's subject of discussion, now, are all electronic devices covered?
So they have specifically defined the electronic devices, which is your mobile phones, smartphones, then there is your laptops, all computer devices, your tablets, and parts and PCs. These are specifically. So
no smartwatch.
No, apart from that, any electronic devices that you might think or use,
television.
It's not covered under this decision.
Wow.
As of now, only these categories have been defined.
PlayStation.
No. So going forward, maybe hard drives as well. So going forward, I believe more electronic devices can be included in this decision because the framework is there. The decision is that they just need to bring on an addendum to bring in more electronic devices to it. But as of now, only it's limited to these many.
Right.
Because I think smartphone the market is pretty huge, right? Compared to any of the other laptop ho gaya ya iPad ho gaya.
Even computer devices,
It's a huge market. Yeah. Okay.
So could you say it once again? What fall under the bracket?
Smartphones, mobile phones, computer devices, tablets, and parts and pieces used in the production of such electronic devices.
But as an electronic trader, I am doing even more in terms of other goods as well.
True.
Only these goods will be covered in terms of not paying the VAT at that very moment.
Yes, only for these goods.
And this will eventually start helping in corporate tax when you have to file for the returns, right? Is there
VAT,
anything
value-added tax.
in particular once the VAT, you still have to account for it, right, where the corporate tax is concerned?
Yes. So you have to. The supplier does not have to account for the VAT, but the complete transaction will be recorded, and for corporate tax, the sales will be recorded for corporate tax purpose. So that's not a problem.
Because corporate taxes are on our mind right now. Everything घूम फिर के corporate tax की तरफ ही जाता है ना? And VAT registrations and VAT compliance, this was one step moving forward, ताकि हम basically get adjusted with corporate tax compliance.
No, both are different kind of tax. See, if you see, VAT is consumption-based tax. It's an indirect tax. Who pays VAT? Any firm who is charging VAT to another company, it's not a cost of doing business for them, right? Because I pay VAT to my supplier, I charge VAT to my customer. The net difference I pay to the government. Right. So that's not a cost of doing business for me. But corporate tax is a direct tax. It's when I do the business, at the end of the year, whatever profits I will have with me, I will have to pay 9% out of it. I'm not going to get it, from any of my customers. Whatever I have done business, after the end of the year, I'm going to pay corporate tax at 9% on it.
And at what stages are the two of them linked together?
So I believe the stage at which it can be used for compliance from the FTA, that okay, you have declared certain sales and purchases for VAT to the FTA, and then at the end of the year you are going to declare your whole books of accounts, whole financial statements, which will cover your sales and purchase. So it's just that the numbers should tie up. You need to make sure that your numbers are tied up and you are not making a mistake there.
Perfect. Anything in particular or any industry that is exempt from VAT, since we're talking about it? We'll discuss more about this.
अगर आपके पास भी कोई सवाल, send us a WhatsApp 0586861003. This is Talk Compliance powered by Tally Solutions.
Talk 100.3.
Welcome back to Daybreak with Vivek Sanal and myself, Mirul Desan. Yes, this hour is known as Talk Compliance in association with Tally Solutions, and we are in conversation with CA Samir Popat. We're talking to him about reverse charge mechanism for electronic devices. Now, Samir, one question I think that Vivek and myself asked you during the break is about understanding VAT versus corporate tax. You said corporate tax, you don't need to have any threshold, as in you have to register for it, but for VAT, now it's a different scene where VAT is concerned. Could you differentiate the two so that we have a better understanding?
So for VAT, there is a registration threshold. So not each and every company who is registered in UAE need to register for VAT, value-added tax.
Correct.
What is the registration threshold? It is 375,000 dirhams. That is the turnover.
Turnover. This is not your profit.
No.
Yeah.
Turnover, sales, revenue.
Correct.
So if a company's turnover is more than 375 or it's about to cross 375,000 dirhams in last 12 months, it's not a calendar year, last 12 months. So right now you are in October. So you have to look from October 22 until September 23.
Right.
And if your turnover is around 375 or more, then you need to register for VAT.
Right.
So not all companies need to register first of all for VAT. But for corporate tax is where each and every company needs to register. There is no registration threshold in that.
VAT is only for companies. This is not for freelance, because अगर आप corporate tax देखो और उस पे एक threshold है that 375,000 का profit, as a freelancer if you're making, you are supposed to register for corporate tax. लेकिन VAT में if you're not a company, you still have to register.
So both the laws have a similar criteria with respect to, in this case, where an individual, even if he does not have a license but is conducting a business or a business activity.
Correct.
Even if he or she does not have a license,
Right.
but is conducting a business or a business activity, and your threshold goes more than 375, then you register for VAT.
Oh.
But for individual, the threshold for registration is 1 million revenue from business activity. It's not 375.
जैसे कि freelancers होते हैं social media पे, और real estate agents, and
Yes.
quite a huge number.
So in this case for them, there was a separate decision, cabinet decision number 49, which
Okay.
explained that if an individual is earning some sort of income, and if it is from a business activity, then up to 1 million, they don't even need to register for corporate tax, because it's a corporate tax on companies. But after 1 million, since your business activity is that huge, that you are making more than 1 million in revenue,
Yearly,
then you need to register for corporate tax, and you need to pay corporate tax at 9% on your profits above 375,000 dirhams.
Nice. Samir is here for VAT, और हम सीधा
We have mixed
खींच
the
के-
two. VAT. So the understanding, if I have registered for VAT, I don't need to register for corporate tax. That's wrong.
That's completely wrong.
Nice. So coming to Cabinet Decision 91 of 2023, हम बात कर रहे थे electronic devices which are covered, and you mentioned about smartphones and iPads and computer devices. Now आपने part and pieces भी कहा. अब part and pieces क्या होता है?
So part and pieces, basically, as per law, it's going to be defined. There is going to be a separate ministerial decision. But what we understand is going to be the parts which are going to be used for, manufacturing or producing the electronic devices, which is smartphones, mobile phones, or computer tablets. Also, I wanted to specify that only the smartphones and mobile phones are covered. So, which are, have a connectivity with a wireless Wi-Fi. But your landline phones, the PABX phones,
Correct, yeah.
those are not part of this decision.
Okay.
Also in tablets, all kinds of tablets are covered, but e-readers, there is
the
specifically
Kindle.
Yeah. Kindle.
those are not covered in this decision.
Right.
So the traders in electronic devices need to, carefully see what products they are dealing in and which of them, this decision will be affecting them.
As a supplier, you are not supposed to pay. As a buyer, you are supposed to account for it. Not that you have to pay it immediately.
Yes, but primary responsibility as a VAT registered supplier,
You come to a buyer.
it's of supplier, right?
Right.
Supplier has the primary responsibility, so it has to ensure that what they are selling is part of this decision defined under. And he does not charge VAT,
Right.
then he can be under a problem. That
Correct.
company can be under a problem.
We got a question that is coming from VS. We will get to the question. We'll continue our conversation with CA Samir Popat. If you have any questions where VAT or corporate tax is concerned, do send it to us on 0586861003.
Talk 100.3.
Welcome back to Daybreak with Vivek Sanal and myself, Mirulisa, still in conversation with CA Samir Popat. Right now, we have a question for you that has come in. It says, "Hi sir, can we voluntarily register for VAT certificate after our turnover reaches 180,000?" And apparently he's heard it from some sources.
Yeah, that's true. So VAT also has a provision wherein a business where it has reached a turnover of 187,500, it can voluntarily register for VAT. But once you are registered, you will have to comply with the return filing and all the provisions of VAT. Also, one thing which many people don't know, even if your taxable expenses wherein you have paid VAT, you have started a new company, you have, let's say, decorated your office, you have purchased the office, in all this your suppliers would have charged you VAT.
Right.
And you cannot claim this VAT back until you are VAT registered.
Correct.
So if this expenses are also more than 187,500 and in future you are going to make taxable supplies, you can register yourself from now and you can claim these input VAT which you have paid to your suppliers on the expenses. So that is also, it's not only about the sales that you make, turnover, but also the taxable expenses that you do or incur. You can register for VAT based on that.
Right. We know that in corporate tax, there's a way that you can monitor, like there is a system that you can monitor how a business performs and whether the business is giving it back to the land or not. How do you monitor where VAT is concerned?
So VAT is more, as I said, about consumption tax, right? So this, when you go and buy something at the grocery, you are the final consumer of those goods.
Right.
And this 5% that you are going to pay on it, that is going to go to the government as the revenue.
Correct. Yeah.
Same is with the services. Whenever you consume any services as an individual, then you pay it to the government. So that's how it's going to go back to the government.
Customer को refund नहीं मिलेगा VAT का unless you're a tourist.
Even in cash transactions? How do you monitor in cash transactions, I'm asking?
In cash transactions, see, there is a system in place for VAT, and very soon FTA is going to implement e-invoicing, wherein each and every invoice that you do, it's going to be through the government system.
Okay.
So everything is on records.
Superb.
Perfect.
Discussion और करेंगे, and if you have any questions, do let us know. 0586861003. This is Talk Compliance brought to you by Tally Solutions, and आप YouTube channel पे भी जा सकते हो, Tally Meena, and you can watch all these videos as well.
Talk 100.3.
Welcome back to Daybreak with Vivek, Sanal and myself, Meerul Disa, still in conversation with CA Samir Popat, partner at Nadeem Umendra Chartered Accountants, and we're talking to him about reverse charge mechanism for electronic devices. Now, Samir, are all smartphones included under this compliance?
All smartphones are there.
Yeah.
All mobile phones are there. Even जो GSM or वो which does not have a touchscreen, even those are covered. But your normal wire से जो phones चलते हैं, which is your landline phones,
Landline.
Okay.
those are specifically not covered.
Okay.
Interesting. Now, is there any additional compliance required as per the decision?
Additional compliance. Interesting सवाल है मेरे.
Additional compliance, yes, because this is a benefit or a relief that has been provided to the suppliers. FTA wants to make sure that the VAT eventually reaches the FTA. So there are compliance, first being both the parties, the seller and the buyer, have to be registered with VAT. If they are not registered, then this cabinet decision does not apply. So one of the compliance requirement is your customer should give a written declaration to the supplier that he is registered for VAT.
Okay.
There is one more declaration that the customer has to give to the seller, is that he is going to use this electronic devices either for resale, that is for trading, or for production or manufacturing of the electronic devices. Only in these cases the cabinet decision applies. Otherwise the supplier will have to charge normal VAT to the buyer.
Okay.
Right. Now, will the supplier still have to issue a tax invoice?
So yes, supplier will have to issue the tax invoice, but it won't have any VAT in it. But there are conditions of reverse charge mechanism wherein a supplier issues the invoice as per the reverse charge mechanism. He has to mention that in the invoice that the invoice does not include any VAT as per the provisions of the reverse charge mechanism of the UAE VAT law. So this sentence has to be included in their invoices.
And ये कब शुरू होने वाला है?
So this is going to start from 30th October. The decision was published on 25th August, and it's going to start from 30th August. It can be implemented. So any sales of electronic devices after 30th August or from 30th October, you have to follow the requirements of cabinet decision. So the VAT registered suppliers and VAT registered buyers of electronic devices, they need to start making these declarations and collecting these declarations from their customers now on.
So Halloween onwards, आपको डर के रहना है.
No, it's a relief.
Right, yeah.
Right. And if you have to explain VAT to a layperson, I mean, especially with the small-time business owners, how would you explain it to them in terms of, getting on board with the registration?
So, see, VAT, first of all, what I would try to make him understand, it's not going out of your pockets for VAT. It's a consumption-based tax, and when you are not consuming any goods, it's not going to go out of your pockets. And for registration, as we had discussed throughout our session, that if your sales in last 12 months, sales, revenue or turnover, whatever name you are using it, if it is more than 187,500, then you can voluntarily register for the VAT. FTA does not force you. There is not a mandatory requirement. But as soon as you are about to reach the turnover of 375,000 dirhams, then you have to mandatorily register for VAT within 20 working days. And if you don't register, there is a fine of 10,000 for late registration. So you need to be aware of that.
और ये हर साल लगते रहेगा आपको till the time you don't
registration is one time.
One time. No, the fine I'm saying.
So what happens is if you are late in registration, FTA sees, let's say you are late 1 year in registration.
Okay.
What FTA sees that you were supposed to get registered in 22 and you have not registered.
Okay.
So they register you with effect from 22. So you would have to file the VAT returns every 3 months from 22.
Right.
Correct.
For each VAT return that you have missed, first VAT return missed, it's 1,000 penalty.
Okay.
Subsequent VAT return that you have missed in the same last 12 months, it's 2,000. So let's say 4 VAT returns are there. So first VAT return you missed, 1,000 penalty, second 2,000, third 2,000 and fourth 2,000. So around 7,000 penalty will be that. And whatever sales you did during that 1 year,
Right.
on that FTA was supposed to receive a revenue of 5%. Right? So whatever sales you did, on that 5% there will be accounted, which will be your tax liability. And that was supposed to be paid back in 22,
Nice.
which you didn't pay. So there will be a penalty, interest penalty for late payment as well.
Okay.
So this is very serious. So businesses need to understand the right time to register for VAT. They need to track their sales, that when they are going to reach around, and that is why this voluntary limit has been given between 187,500 to 375. You can voluntarily register. So make sure that when you are about to reach 300 or you have reached 300,000 sales and you know for sure that you are going to cross the mandatory limit,
Correct.
do the registration beforehand.
Correct.
Because there is benefit for you also. You
Absolutely.
can include it in as an expense, right, in your
Yes.
accounts.
Yes.
We'll continue our conversation with CA Samir Popat. If you have any questions where VAT or corporate tax is concerned, do send it to us on 0586861003.
Talk 100.3.
Daybreak आप सुन रहे हैं टॉक कंप्लायंस ऑन टॉक 100.3 brought to you by Tally Solutions. Tally मीना YouTube channel जरूर देखिएगा if you missed any of these interviews. We've been having interesting discussion with CA Samir Popat. Now Samir, अगर थोड़ा सा summarize करना हो ये पूरे discussion को, mainly for suppliers and traders and buyers
In electronic devices.
in electronic devices.
So first of all these VAT registered suppliers and buyers in electronic devices, once again the electronic devices are the smartphones, mobile phones, your computer devices and tablets and parts and PCs. Parts and PCs के लिए there will be a separate ministerial decision. So whenever a VAT registered supplier is making supplies of electronic devices to a VAT registered supplier, the supplier will not charge VAT, but the buyer of such electronic devices will have to account for VAT. There are a couple of conditions that both the supplier and the buyer needs to maintain. One, a written declaration from the buyer that is registered for VAT, and second one is a written declaration that he is going to use these goods for either resale or production or manufacturing of electronic devices. If it is for personal consumption, then this decision does not apply. The intent of use should be mentioned in the written declaration. Both the declarations can be clubbed, and that's it. The applicability of this decision is from 30th October. So before 30th October, make sure those declarations are in place. And it's not one-time declaration, because each time the use of your electronic devices can change. Yeah. Sometimes you might buy it for consumption. So this written declaration has to be taken before every supply.
Superb.
We've reached the end of our conversation, but thank you so very much, CA Samir, for always coming into our studios and educating us, whether it's corporate tax or whether it's VAT. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. You also have been doing a tremendous job with the tele talk, and these topics are not handled by a lot of radio stations, and this is a great work. So all the listeners, I'm sure they are getting a lot of benefit out of this. Thank you so much. Thank you to Tally as well, and for this decision as well. Tally is very flexible, so you can already account for VAT as per this new cabinet decision as well. So no problems in that. Once again, thanks a lot.
With Vivek Sanil and Muriel Desar. Talk 100.3.